The movie starts with a girl named Becky, her husband Dan, and their friend Hunter. They're climbing a mountain to reach its peak. It shows that Dan is super skilled in climbing, while Becky is nervous because they're at a really high altitude. At that moment, her foot slips, but she saves herself quickly. However, she gets dizzy and fear shows on her face. Dan comforts her, keeps cheering her up, and to make her feel safer, he reaches his hands to her and asks her to come closer. Becky listens to him, comes closer, and he grabs her. They hug. At that moment, Hunter sees them and keeps bragging that she'll reach the peak before them. After that, Dan and Becky keep climbing until they reach a spot on the mountain where there's a bird. The bird suddenly flies into Dan's face, making him lose his balance and fall off the mountain. He stays hanging by the rope, but the problem is that he can't reach the mountain to grab the rocks and get his balance back. He asks Becky to hold onto a rock and unclip the rope they're tied with, hoping this will give him a chance to reach the mountain. Becky, terrified and scared, does what he says. Meanwhile, Hunter tries to climb down from her spot to reach Dan and help him. Dan tries to swing with the rope to reach the mountain before it comes off. But sadly, the rope gets detached from the spot it's tied to, and Dan falls from that high altitude and dies. 51 weeks pass after Dan's death. Becky is sitting at the bar, drinking. It shows that she's in a really bad state because she can't live without her husband. She's even calling his number just to hear his voice on voicemail. At that time, she keeps telling him that she misses him so much. When she gets out of the bar, she finds her dad, James, waiting for her. He doesn't like seeing his daughter's life falling apart like this. He tells her that he tried to call her a lot, but she didn't answer and ignored all his calls. James talks with Becky to get her out of the isolation she's in. He tells her that she has to wake up and live her life. She tells him that he never liked Dan, and that's why he'll never feel what she felt. But James makes her understand that he's trying to wake her up from what she's in. He tells her that Dan wasn't the perfect husband like she thinks, and he doesn't deserve for her to mourn him for all this time. Becky responds, saying this is the worst way a dad can comfort his daughter. James gets mad because he's upset about the state his daughter has reached. He says, if it was the other way around and you were the one who died, Dan wouldn't destroy his life like you have. Becky ignores his words and leaves him. When she gets home, she breaks down, cries, and calls Dan again to hear his voice. But she's shocked when she finds out that the number has been disconnected. She breaks down even more and decides to take a bunch of sleeping pills to hurt herself. Suddenly, she finds her friend Hunter calling her. She backs off from that decision and answers her. After that, Hunter visits Becky at her house. Becky finds out that her dad called Hunter and told her about the state she's in. Becky gets annoyed by what her dad did, but Hunter makes her understand that her dad is just worried about her. He doesn't like that she's been alone all this time. When she found out, she got really upset. Hunter shows Becky pictures of a TV tower 6 hours away from their place. She tells Becky that she was planning to climb that tower and insists that they climb it together. Becky hesitates and tells Hunter that she stopped doing climbing ever since Dan died. Hunter tells her that this is a great chance to honor Dan's memory and suggests that she could also take Dan's ashes and throw them from the top of the tower. It shows that Becky is nervous and scared. Hunter reminds her of what Dan used to say about facing fear. But Becky cries and tells her that she can't do it. Hunter hugs her and keeps calming her down. The next day, Becky wakes up, looks at a picture of her and Dan, changes her mind, and tells Hunter that she agrees to climb the tower with her. So they get ready and hit the road, heading to the tower. After a while on the road, they stop at a restaurant near the tower to rest. Becky wants to charge her phone because it's about to die, but the waitress tells her that the electricity costs money. Becky gives up and changes the subject, asking about the location of the TV tower. The waitress points to a distant light and tells her that's the tower. After the waitress leaves, Becky is surprised that the tower has a light on it. Hunter tells her that the tower hasn't been working for a while and the government plans to demolish it next year. She explains that the light on top of the tower is for planes to notice it because it's 2,000 feet tall and is considered the 4th tallest tower in America. After that, Hunter removes a light bulb from the lamp and plugs Becky's phone charger in its place, showing off. Becky tells her that's an old trick she learned back in the day. They spend the night in a nearby motel. The next day, they get in the car to continue on their way. At that time, Hunter records a video to post on her YouTube channel. She says in the video that her next adventure is climbing the TV tower with her friend Becky. She also mentions that the tower is over 2,000 feet high and tells her followers that they're going to see a really exciting and fun adventure. After that, they keep driving toward the tower until they reach the gate, but Hunter finds that the gate is locked with a padlock. They're forced to continue on foot until they reach the tower. There, Hunter films the tower and says that there's an internal ladder inside a steel cage that's 1,800 feet tall. After that ladder, There's another ladder without a cage that's 200 feet high. After that, they'll be at the top of the tower. At that moment, Hunter notices that Becky is nervous and shaking from fear. Becky wants to back off from climbing the tower, but Hunter cheers her up. She tells Becky she's strong like her husband Dan, and that she believes Becky will be able to climb the tower and overcome her fear. Becky calms down, and they start climbing the tower's ladder. It's obvious that the ladder is rusty and worn out because it's old to the point where there are loose bolts. Some steel parts of the tower are rusty and broken. It shows that Hunter and Becky aren't paying any attention to that and don't even know that. Because of their movement on the ladder, the bolts are coming loose from the tower. But while Becky is climbing the ladder, a rung breaks in her hands. She watches it fall from the tower, and it hurts her. Hunter tries to calm her down and tells her not to look down. Then, they keep climbing until Becky asks Hunter if they can take a break, because she's thirsty and wants water. Hunter gives her the water and tells her that they've already climbed half the distance, meaning they're now about 1,000 feet high, same height as the Eiffel Tower. After that, they continue climbing the ladder until they reach the end of the metal cage. At that moment, Hunter tells Becky that the rest of the way will be without the cage. She encourages her not to be scared and tells her there's only 200 feet left until they reach the top of the tower. So, Becky hides her fear and nervousness and keeps climbing. There's a satellite dish halfway up the ladder that they have to climb through to reach the top. Hunter helps Becky and pulls the rope, and eventually, they reach the top of the tower. They're happy and proud of what they've done. Then, Becky hangs off the platform they're standing on, holding on with one hand. She asks Hunter to film her with the drone. When Hunter climbs onto the platform, she convinces Becky to do the same to overcome her fear. Becky agrees, listens to her, and Hunter films her. Then, Becky takes out her husband Dan's ashes and throws them into the air while crying. Hunter gets emotional and cries too, but she pulls herself together and tells Becky that they have to climb down now. But as soon as Becky puts her feet on the ladder, it starts shaking and comes loose. Becky falls off the ladder and starts screaming, but Hunter manages to grab the rope they tied themselves with. She wraps it around the pole at the top of the tower and pulls Becky with all her strength until Becky manages to grab the small remaining part of the ladder and climbs back up to the platform. It shows that Becky hurt her leg, so Hunter tears a piece of her clothes and wraps it around the wound to stop the bleeding. Then they start thinking about how they're going to get down since the ladder is destroyed. On top of that, Becky's bag fell and got stuck on the satellite dish in the tower. The biggest problem is that there's no signal on their phones because they're way too high and far from any phone towers. At that moment, Becky gets tired and scared, so Hunter tries to calm her. She tells Becky that someone will definitely see her car parked in front of the gate, and they'll call for help, and the rescue team will come save them. While they're talking, they notice a small box on the metal pole. They open it quickly and find a pair of binoculars and a flare gun inside, but the gun only has one shot. They decide to keep it and use it as a signal to get someone's attention. They decide to use it after the sun sets. Then, they sit together, hoping someone will come to rescue them. Becky takes out her phone and films Hunter, asking her what she thinks about everything that happened. Hunter says that even though they're stuck 2,000 feet high with no way down, she's happy because ever since Dan, she decided to record every important moment in her life. 5 hours pass, and no one comes to rescue them. They keep scanning the area with the binoculars, but they don't see anyone at all. Then, Hunter gets an idea. She'll write a post on Instagram and lower the phone with the rope from the top of the tower. Maybe the phone will catch a signal, and the post will get published. When her followers see the post, they'll call for help, and the rescue will come. So, Hunter ties the phone to the rope and lowers it all the way down, but unfortunately, the phone doesn't catch any signal. Then, Becky thinks maybe they could put the phone inside something to protect it and throw it from the top of the tower, so when it hits the ground, it won't break and might catch a signal, allowing the post to go live. Hunter agrees with the idea and takes off her shoe, puts the phone inside, and adds some of her clothes to secure it really well. Then, she throws it from the top of the tower. She and Becky wait to see if the plan works or not. Hunter uses the binoculars to watch the area around the tower until she notices a man walking nearby with his dog. The man's on the phone, and the dog passes right next to Hunter's phone, which turns out to be totally wrecked after the fall. Becky and Hunter start yelling at the top of their lungs to get his attention. But the guy's too busy on his call and doesn't hear them. So, Becky takes off her own shoe and throws it from the tower, hoping he'll notice. But still, he doesn't. Then, Hunter sees him heading to a truck parked far from the tower. She sees that he's with a friend, and they're getting ready to eat dinner. So, she suggests they wait until sunset and then fire the flare so the guy and his friend will see it and come save them. They sit there waiting for the sun to go down, and Becky starts watching a video from her wedding day. That's when she notices for the first time how Hunter was looking at her and Dan. It didn't seem like she was happy at all. And she sees how Hunter was clearly focused on Dan the whole time. Becky's deep in thought when Hunter snaps her out of it and tells her the guy and his friend are leaving, so they have to fire the flare now. Becky grabs the flare gun and shoots it. When the flare lights up the sky, the guy and his friend see it. Becky and Hunter get super excited and start flashing the phone light to show them where they are. The guys actually notice and get in their truck, heading their way. But the shock? When they reach the gate and see Hunter's car, they steal it and drive off. Becky and Hunter break down and start screaming. They can't believe their chance to be rescued is gone. There's no hope left now, especially after using the only flare they had. They sit there, sadness all over their faces, and eventually, they fall asleep from exhaustion. Hunter almost falls off the tower while sleeping if it wasn't for Becky catching her at the last second. That's when Becky notices a tattoo on Hunter's leg with the number 133. She realizes there is something going on between Dan and Hunter. Becky decides to confront her and says that Dan never told her, "I love you." Instead, he always said 143, which is actually tattooed on Hunter's leg. She asks her, since when has she been cheating with Dan? Hunter breaks down and confesses that she was in a relationship with Dan for 4 months, but ended it before he died. She tries to explain what happened, saying it started when she was drunk and not in her right mind. But Becky doesn't buy it and tells her that if it was just a mistake, it wouldn't have lasted 4 months. Hunter admits she couldn't stop herself from falling for Dan, and that when she came to her senses, she cut it off immediately. Becky doesn't respond and just stays quiet. They both stay silent until the sun rises. At that moment, Becky finally accepts that no one is coming to save them. On top of that, she's sure now that Hunter's phone was completely destroyed when it hit the ground. But suddenly, Hunter decides to use the rope and try to reach the bag hanging in the air, especially since it has her drone inside, and maybe they could use the drone to get rescued. She climbs down the rope until she's just a short distance away from the bag. She tries to reach it with her hands, but can't, so she has to unhook the rope from her harness and jump onto the antenna. She actually manages to reach the bag, but when she tries to get to the other rope, it's too far. So she grabs the selfie stick and hooks the bag onto a knot in the rope, using the weight of the bag to keep the rope steady in the wind, and she's able to pull it toward her. Hunter finally gets hold of the rope and starts climbing back up to Becky, who's helping by pulling the rope up. Hunter makes it near the top, but her hands slip and she falls. Becky's too exhausted and terrified to even look. Scared Hunter might have fallen off the tower and died. But she pulls herself together and looks down and sees Hunter sitting on the bag, telling her she got lucky and managed to grab it last second. But she also tells Becky that her hands are really injured and she won't be able to climb back up, so Becky has to pull her up. Becky gathers all her strength and starts pulling Hunter up until she gets her to the top. Then, she drinks some water from the bottle in the bag. After that, she writes a rescue message, attaches it to the drone, and tries to fly it toward the hotel they stayed in, hoping someone might see the message and come help. But after the drone gets a bit far, they realize its battery is super low and it might crash any second. So, they bring it back before it gets wrecked, and they just sit there feeling defeated until night falls. Becky eventually passes out from exhaustion, but when she wakes up, she realizes Hunter's not next to her. She freaks out and starts looking for her, terrified that Hunter might have fallen asleep and slipped off the tower. Suddenly, she sees Hunter's body and a vulture eating it, and she screams in horror. But then she wakes up and realizes it was just a nightmare. Hunter's right there and calms her down. Then, Hunter gets an idea. They could use the warning light fixture at the top of the metal pole to plug in the drone charger and charge the battery, just like Becky did at the restaurant to charge her phone. Becky agrees to the plan, grabs the drone, and climbs up the metal pole. When she gets to the top, she removes the light and plugs in the charger. She manages to get it working and hangs there, waiting. But suddenly, a giant vulture attacks her because of the smell of blood on her leg. Becky fights it off, but her bag falls. She's confused because Hunter didn't even try to catch it, even though she was nearby. Becky keeps fighting the vulture until the drone finishes charging. Then, Hunter helps her down, and Becky asks her why she didn't try to catch the bag. Hunter dodges the question and doesn't answer. After that, Becky flies the drone toward the hotel. But right before it gets there, a big truck comes out of nowhere and crashes into it. The drone gets smashed and falls onto the road without anyone seeing it or noticing. At that moment, Becky completely loses hope that they'll ever be rescued. But the weird thing is Hunter is super calm. She asks Becky to keep talking to her so she doesn't lose focus from all the hunger and thirst. Becky listens to her and starts thinking maybe she should throw her phone like she did with Hunter's. She asks Hunter to take off one of her shoes so she can put the phone inside and throw it off the tower. But then, Hunter surprises her and tells her the shoe isn't there, and neither is she, because she fell on the antenna and died. She tells Becky she's just in her imagination now. That's when we realize that when Hunter's hands slipped from the rope, she wasn't able to grab the bag. She fell and died on the antenna. Becky had pulled up the bag, but Hunter wasn't with it. Becky is totally shocked and breaks down crying. After a while, when she calms down, she picks up her phone and records a video apologizing to her dad for how she treated him. She says she wishes she could see him again to say sorry in person. Becky just sits there at the top of the tower, and it seems like she's given up. But then, a vulture shows up and lands near her because of the smell of blood on her leg. Becky grabs it and starts smashing its head against the metal until it dies. Then she eats its meat because she's starving and about to pass out from hunger. After she regains a bit of strength, she decides to go down to Hunter's body. When she gets to her, she takes out her phone and sends a message to her dad, telling him she's stuck on top of the tower and begging him to save her. Then she puts her phone inside Hunter's shoe and shoves the whole thing inside what's left of Hunter's body after the vultures got to it. She apologizes to Hunter and says she just wants to make sure the phone doesn't break and the message gets through. After that, she throws Hunter's body off the tower. Becky sits there waiting for someone to come save her. After a while, we see James driving his car like crazy, and we find out Becky's message got to him and that he told the police. James finally arrives at the tower, and the police are already there. He's in shock when he sees a body on the ground and panics, thinking it's Becky, but she calls out to him and runs toward him. He hugs her and breaks down, finally calming down when he realizes his daughter is alive. That's when Becky tells him she loves him and apologizes for everything she did wrong and for how she used to talk to him. And that's the end of the movie. See you in the next recap.
If you love movies and movie recaps, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.